The bandwidth for this episode of the AR-15 podcast is sponsored by the Firearms Radio Network. Firearmsradio.tv.
Welcome to episode number 104 of the AR-15 podcast. I'm your host, Reed Snyder, and with me today are my co-hosts, J.W. Ramp and Anthony Hardy. This is the podcast about your favorite black rifle. This is the show for you, whether you're building your first AR or you've been building ARs for years. There is something we can all do to take our black rifle to the next level. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Oh, it's going just fine. Got to sneak away from work for just a little bit.
Just fine? Just a little bit, JW. Come on, man. You still working those 18-hour days?
Oh, I don't know if it was quite that long, but they add up. I actually got to escape off to the range on Sunday with Sarah, and we recorded a video that I just started editing that's going to go up on our new YouTube page of a product review of a very cool chronograph that the guys at Magneto Speed just sent to me.
That is some outstanding stuff. I know that the listeners will be eager to see that. I know I am. So, JW, we're getting ready to go to SHOT Show in not too many weeks from now, and it looks like you and your team are all geared up to get out there and get a job done. We've been talking with JW and his lovely wife about covering all of the content out there. So we do want to remind you, if there is something you want us to focus on specifically, write in, let us know, because JW has really been kind of sucky at the read and mind ESP prognostication thing. He's trying, but I think it's his engineering brain getting in the way of that kind of hooey.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to my first SHOT Show.
It's going to be good stuff.
Tickets are booked, hotels reserved, and we're ready to go.
You know, there's nothing like Las Vegas and that many companies who are all about firearms in Las Vegas. I mean, it's just like, you know, going to a candy store inside of a candy mall. So, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. So we want to remind you all that it is Brownells who helps make this show possible. So don't forget that Brownells, with their 100% lifetime satisfaction guarantee, is there for you anytime you have a problem. Like when you can't remove the taper pins from your new barrel to slip off the front sight base, and you now have to find a new barrel. So with that, we want you to shop for all of your AR-15 parts at Brownells. And you can go to ar15podcast.com/parts to do your part to help this show provide continuing weekly content that is, except for last week, bar none, the best stuff on the internet. So, last week, I think we owe you all an apology. It was an enormous cross of every bad thing that can happen to somebody on the show, and we were not able to deliver you the best content possible. We do want to apologize. We are getting that show up and ready to go in good form. So we are here to tell you we are sorry. But this week we shouldn't have that problem. Isn't that right, guys?
That's right. We're sorry. So sorry.
No, wait. I don't have to apologize next week for you singing, please, Anthony.
Oh, come on.
Cut me some slack.
Okay, let's move on here. We got our product of the week.
We do.
This one, read-through in there. It's been something he's been drooling over for quite a while.
It is. And I've got to tell you, I want the podcast listener who can actually convince their significant other, all right, one that's not a bachelor, to convince their significant other to get one of these for them. This is a tactical stocking. This is an awesome piece of kit. It is made out of, I believe it is either 500 or 1,000, is it denier? Is that what it is called? Denier fabric? Anyways.
It's one of those words that you see typed a million times
but
while
you've
covering
never
this sort of
actually,
an industry, but nobody ever actually says it
you've never heard it
here
pronounced.
or something. Yeah, it just sounds too girly when you actually say it.
Right. But it's high quality material. It's got some good stitching. I mean, of course, you're not going to hump this across the uh, the Khyber Pass or any of the infamous places in Afghanistan, so you can hang it up in your hooch and have a little Christmas time there. No, no, this is a little less um, purpose-driven design, so it probably doesn't have the double stitching and the cross stitching and the tack bar stitching and all that. But it is a great stocking. It is a tactical stocking. It's got some clips, a little molly surface. It's got some Velcro so you can put your name on it, and put some patches up there. It's got some Fastex buckles. It's awesome. It's great stuff. I don't know why my wife won't let me have one. Well, if I can do anything,
something to do with coloring?
no, I don't know.
I just,
If I can do anything to help one of our listeners get one of these up on their stocking, I will do everything I can. So check out the link. It's an awesome stocking, guys. So, well, what do we have coming up around the corner, guys, that is consuming all of us? It's Christmas, right?
should I really? Okay, here comes Santa Claus.
No,
I
no,
should
no.
really
Singing
stop singing.
bad.
Singing bad?
Bad.
Singing bad.
I don't want to have to apologize to our listeners for the assault that you are committing upon their ears.
All right, it's Christmas time.
Yes,
It really snuck up on me this time.
Well, that's because
Really?
you're working your keister off.
Well, somebody pulled out the calendar and it was like, is that really Christmas coming up?
2 weeks.
Yeah. What got us thinking about it on the podcast here is a piece of feedback though that we received. There's a username here, Jolly Elf 482. How did this come in? Was this like a handwritten letter?
No,
It was delivered by
a piece
reindeer.
of email, but we got it a while back, and I kind of read between the lines and figured out what this was all about, and so I didn't want to just kind of come out and talk about it until we'd had a chance to help the guy. But it was back in late August. Yeah, it was back in late August, I guess it was.
Right.
And why don't you go ahead and read it, JW?
Well, Jolly Elf says, read Anthony and JW. I listen to your show all the time. We don't get good radio reception here at the Pole, so podcasts have become the only reliable way to get some entertainment here in the off season. I want to get your help on a build I want to complete before December. I end up traveling a lot for work during my busy season and find myself in parts of the world from time to time that give me reason to be concerned about my safety. I tend to travel with a lot of packages that could be considered quite valuable to some. Please give me some pointers on what I should include in my build that will help me protect my sleigh and its contents and my reindeer team. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Best to you all. Ho, ho, ho.
Well, I think we can all figure out who this was. We've been in touch with the Jolly Elf, and we've passed on some of our pointers, but now that I think that we're well past the point of any disclosure being harmful to his plans, we're going to talk about what we told Santa to include in his next rifle build. So, we have had some modifications because recently some things have come to market that we really wanted to make sure that old St. Nick was able to incorporate into his thinking, but we helped him out, and plus I don't think there is a group of more enterprising elves in the world to take on the labor that any last minute changes might bring across the old man's desk. So we started off with a list of things that old St. Nick needed to get, and the first among them that I think really has interested me, I don't know about you guys, but I am interested in this. Battle Arms Development has come out with a lightweight billet receiver set.
This looks bad.
It is really BAD.
Oh, you
So
got
Battle
it.
Arms Development. You guys remember what they're all famous for? The bad
Ambidextrous
ASS
safety selector.
switch? Yes. They've really kind of stepped up their game out there, coming to market with, I think, really kind of a full-fledged set of parts here that seem to really kind of gravitate into their design philosophy, and it's some awesome stuff if you ask me. I don't know that you did, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I really like that the way they did the magwell, the angled magwell there. I guess they just were removing material to remove weight, but it looks cool too.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really kind of nice look and feel to it. You know, certainly I haven't put hands on one, but if it's anything like their takedown pin set or their um, Battle Arms, their ambidextrous safety select, I can't imagine that it's in any way subpar.
Yeah, it seems like there's been quite a few manufacturers lately that are in a, I guess, quote unquote, arms race to put out the lightest AR. And on Battle Arms website here, they aren't even listing the weight. It's still kind of pre-market. They're doing pre-orders and stuff, but I don't know whether they're still running calculations or they're trying to keep it under wraps until all the big releases happen. It's shot, but there's definitely been some competition back and forth with people trying to put together the lightest builds.
And, you know, I think from our understanding, after Old St. Nick and Battle Arms kind of worked out a little quid pro quo deal, Santa's experience with them has been stellar. I'm just saying. Anyways, moving on to the next point. So we've got a Spikes Tactical Lower Parts Kit. You know, I think that the lower parts kit is just kind of a generic toss-up from one manufacturer to the next, but I've never been disappointed by anything I've pulled out of one of the Spikes kits, and you know, I have been disappointed in some of the other ones. So obviously when times were tough, it was sometimes hard to get the little parts in the quantities that were being shipped, but you know, Spikes kept up their performance, and I'll go with one of their kits any day because of that. So Anthony?
Yeah, no,
no, this was JW.
Yeah, this was JW's pick, yeah.
Tell us about the ALG trigger that you put in here.
Yeah, I was just at a local shop here checking it out for the first time, and they had a nice spread of the Geisley triggers, because they're actually made right here in Pennsylvania. The wife of, I guess it's Mr. Geisley, started this kind of offshoot company called ALG, and they put out some really high quality triggers that are based on like your standard mil spec dimensions, but they're made with high quality materials. They're finished, hard lubed, and they're just kind of the next step up from your mil spec trigger. So it's all kind of the same parts that a standard armorer would be familiar with, but it really gives you a step up in performance. So something that I thought Santa Claus could definitely use on his build.
Well, you know, I don't think that there's anything wrong with any of the ALG products. In fact, I think that for me, as a function of cost versus features, it's probably well, I would opine that it's the best buy out there, cost over features. I just don't think you're going to get anywhere close anywhere else in the market. And you know, really, you're getting with the higher end ALG trigger real close to the kind of features and precision that you can't see until you're into $120, $140 trigger sets. So I think it's a great buy. Well, and you know, JW, this next pick, once again, is your inspiration for the build as well.
Yeah, the target of our build here has some unique, I guess, circumstances for how he's going to employ this rifle. I may have to be going up and down tight spaces, chimneys, for example, And so it's important to kind of put your rifle in a small package as possible. So I've been really looking at this Law Tactical Folding Stock Adapter. It actually lets you fold the receiver extension right on over behind the gun, just like a SCAR or something like that would. Obviously, you can't fire an AR in that sort of a position, but once it's clicked back into place, then the buffer can recoil just like normal, and it really gives you that compact package with pretty much standard parts other than this adapter.
Absolutely. Well, my understanding is that the current commercially available set from Law Tactical is an improvement over the first generation, and while the complaints were, I think, pretty nominal, I think that they've, by all accounts, done a bang-up job in addressing the concerns that were voiced. I think that any company that is going to go to the trouble of taking a product that, in its own right is got a lot of merit and is selling well, and say, we can do this better still, even still, and so we're going to, says to me a lot about their willingness to provide consumers with something that they're going to really enjoy. So the next pick is something that I put down there, and the rifle that I shoot the most has an ergo grip. And ergo, really, I don't know a great deal about the company, but this grip to me is probably the most utilitarian and useful and comfortable grip out there. For one thing, I am a big proponent of kind of the rubber overmolded grips. I really don't like kind of that hard plastic grip. To me, it just doesn't have a good feel. And so, like on all of my other rifles where I'm sporting a Magpul MOE grip, I'm using the MOE Plus grip, the overmolded ones. I like this. I've even had an overmolded handguard, but that was a Hogue product. But still, this is my favorite grip by far. So let's see. Anthony, why don't you come up here and talk to us about the next product on the list, our number 6 here.
Yeah, we've got the Magpul MOE SL carbine stock, the mil-spec model. And this guy, it's pretty standard. It is a mil-spec model, but it is a Magpul stock, so it's going to be, a good quality material that the stock is made of. You're going to get a little less rattle out of this than you would out of the regular stock on a lot of the less expensive rifles. And it's got a nice rubber butt pad at the end of it, so I know mine does not, and I can tell you that rubber butt pad would be a nice little feature for pressing that thing up against your shoulder, keep it from sliding around and that kind of thing. So it would be, it looks like it's a really good stock.
More to the point, in keeping with the idea of, how our, Jolly Elf is going to be using his rifle, that the slim line goes in with the idea of a lower profile approach to the rifle. I think probably the next 4 items are, to me, in one variant or another, kind of go-to items. So we're going to cover these quick. For the roll pins, we have the K&S anti-roll pin set, and to my knowledge, there aren't many other choices in this category. But I like to include them just for the sake of that purpose of not having your roll pins walk on you. I can't say that I'm going to shoot a rifle enough for it to happen. But as the Jolly Elf said, if he's going to be in a place where he might be using some high volumes of fire, I think the anti-roll pin's a good choice.
Yeah, I actually had it happen to me a few weekends ago at a monthly 3-gun event. I pulled my rifle out, got ready to shoot the stage, and all of a sudden trigger wasn't moving at all. I looked down, and there were two big holes in the side of my gun where pins should be, and they were completely gone. I was running a Timney trigger, and it was one that I had installed quite a few years ago. And I don't know if I didn't screw those little set screws in quite far enough, or what the deal was. But normally those don't go anywhere, and I couldn't find them at all. They weren't in my bag. Either one of my range buddies was playing a trick on me, or something crazy happened. And so I ordered up a pair of those anti-roll pins and put those in, and they aren't going anywhere now.
Well, that's good to know. Have either of you had experience with Battle Arms Development's pivot and takedown pin set?
I haven't, no.
I ordered a set. I have to tell you that the way that they're machined really is very helpful when you're trying to manipulate those pins. And I would say, being the two pins that you are most likely to have to use frequently so you can maintain and clean your rifle, it gets to be a pain in the rear trying to get those to move for you. So I think what Battle Arms has done for those two is a real improvement. Once again, another product that I think is a go-to product when you're putting together a lower. It's the bad lever. I really do enjoy that, being a lefty, because it allows me a little higher degree of manipulation on an offhand use of a right-handed rifle that I don't think I'd want to go too far from without having. And I think finally, once again, we've already talked about it, but it's the Battle Arms Development AMB Safety Selector. And for me, I think I've spoken about it before. The pins on most of those AMB selectors have a tendency to rub on my knuckle, and so I like to put the flat pin that or the flat lever that the BAD provides for their lever set, and that makes it a really comfortable AMB selector for me to use. So I think those are kind of the final components we'd see on a lower. So let's kind of turn to the upper receiver here. And JW, why don't you tell us about this next item here?
Well, this caught my eye just because it looks really cool. It's a new bolt carrier group from Landtac, and it looks like they've done some serious work as far as milling out some material that and kind of prioritizing heat reduction and having the bolt carrier group really lock up well when the bolt's all the way forward in battery. So they're claiming that when you're running suppressed, it'll kind of lower the heat that's going to be around the bolt carrier group, and it'll also increase accuracy because of how tight things take up when you're fully in battery. I think it looks pretty mean, so that's why I threw that in for jolly old Saint Nick.
I think when you look at a lot of the approaches to trying to enhance the bolt carrier groups, I think they're getting to a point where they're more willing to put some thought, and I guess they're trying to stray from the original mold. And I think they're getting some good results. In fact, Anthony, wasn't it Jesse Tischauer that we interviewed a while back for a future show,
Right.
Who talked to us about a low-mass bolt carrier group made out of titanium?
Yes. I think that sounds like a wonderful idea. I mean, anytime you can improve that bolt carrier group, it's got to give you a performance improvement. I mean, that's one of the major moving parts on the rifle.
So excellent piece there. Let's move on to what I think JW put here for a barrel. So this is a Faxon Firearms product. Is that correct, JW?
Yeah, this is one that just kind of showed up in the last week or so, and it looks like somebody got real fancy in the metal shop decided to chop
Yeah.
up some barrels and come
This
up
looks
with a
cool.
new fluting method. So I figured that with Santa going down the chimneys, kind of be along the same theme with this flame fluted barrel. So it'd save him some weight, but he'd also look cool doing it.
Absolutely. Well, and you know, here's the thing that I kind of like about this whole idea of a flame fluted barrel, of this flame fluted barrel. Number one, it's got a 1 in 8 barrel twist, so it's going to kind of lower the bottom range of available ammunition choices to the Jolly Elf here. So, you know, really, why do you need to reinvent the wheel when the world is covered up in 5.56 ammo and the 55 grain variation? So I think that's a good idea. Number two, this is a mid-length gas system. So I think to me that's going to give you kind of a, it's going to tame that recoil impulse and you know the whole process of cycling the rifle every time you fire. And I think that's just going to do nothing but help Santa kind of stay on target and help him out with those quite necessary follow-up shots. And you know, I think finally what we have in this barrel is an approach to a finish that is taking on the black nitriding rather than sticking with old school phosphating and chrome. I'm still a big fan of those, but I think that the world is changing pretty rapidly in that arena, and their QPQ black nitriding process is really, I think, kind of an industry contender for the top choice in the future. So there you go on a barrel. Guys, let's talk about the next couple of items here, which I think are a low-profile gas block.
And you put a LaRue Tactical low profile in here. That's always a good company to pull from.
I did. I've actually have one of these on a rifle of mine, and I'm a real big fan of it because it really is easy to install. It's got an amazing profile on it. It's very utilitarian, and you know, I've never found fault with anything I've acquired from LaRue Tactical. I think they just make good quality products. The next one is a Samson Keymod Evolution Series 11.
So cool.
So Samson Manufacturing makes some really amazing products, this being one of them. I actually have I believe it's the next length of this line on my my SBR, and for being able to house an Adams Arms piston underneath the rail and still have a profile that very closely approximates that feel of the Midwest Industries, you know, kind of really small diameter handguard. I think it's remarkable because I will tell you, my Saker at an 1.5 inch diameter fits underneath this handguard.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
It is very awesome. So, how many of you guys remember seeing the Lantac Dragon muzzle brake when it came to market about a year or so ago?
I've seen some of the videos.
I think to me, this is like that coveted brake that I want to get and have an opportunity to try.
Kind of a lot of the 3-gunners use it.
Do they?
Yeah.
You see, my instincts. I like my instincts.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So I think the Dragon muzzle brake is a no-brainer. From everything that I've heard, mind you, this is not personal experience, but from the people who I tend to lean towards in moments when I haven't a direct experience. It does live up to some of the advertising hype. And so to me, if the Jolly Elf wants to be able to have some follow-up shots, we've really kind of assembled some of the critical items in a rifle so he can stay on target and lay down some fire. And really, isn't that the important part here?
Yep. I mean, he's got to get back on target, man. One shot doesn't always do it.
I'm all about laying down some death, right? So anyways. You know, really, we haven't put an iron sight here, and, you know, when it comes down to it,
Dude, have you seen the new Magpul 45-degree offsets?
I
The
have,
Pro version?
but
They're in aluminum.
I don't like them.
Really?
I don't have an ambi set.
Oh, that's true.
They're dead to read because there's no
Yeah,
lefty version.
You lefties.
Exactly. You know, until I can use it left-handed, what am I going to do? I mean, imagine trying to flip it up right-handed and lean into it, and no, not going to work.
Just mount them backwards, you know.
Well, yeah, and so then what?
Flip them
You know,
down, forwards, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time around a corner, it's going to brush them down.
Oh, every time you round a corner. Is that how you round corners? Is by brushing your rifle against the corner?
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
are the tables?
Okay, next up here, I have a custom EOTech. Now, this is not from some tall tale. Like, this has actually been done. So they've got the
So cool.
what you call it, the biohazard one, like the zombie EOTech. So yes, they can do it. They do different reticles, but there's actually a guy that has done a mod on his where he actually puts a small computer inside of it with an OLED, I believe, screen, so he can display whatever he wants on that reticle. And so I think Santa definitely deserves a Christmas tree one, maybe a mistletoe reticle, something like that.
Absolutely.
Basically straight out of Call of Duty, because we all know that's where everything great comes from.
All cool stuff is designed and made for Call of Duty, of course.
Exactly.
And isn't that where all the operators go?
Yes, yes. So
They learn there as training.
this is real life. This is totally doable. Whether EOTech pumps out a special one just for him, or whether he just calls up this guy that's been hacking them with OLEDs and has them rig up a program for the
Oh
holidays.
man, his elves will watch the video and go, "Oh, now we can do that." Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I'm not so certain the elves aren't ahead of them already. In any case.
That's true.
Yep. Lately I've kind of leaned towards the whole aim point, red dot, RMR, that sort of real simple, just a aiming dot. But there's some cool things you can do with EOTechs, so we'll throw one of those on.
Good point. Good point. All right. So, you know, honestly, I have been thinking about a colored rifle. A rifle that is not black.
What?
No. I mean, I know. I'm almost ashamed to say that I've had these thoughts, but it has crossed my mind. And so, you know, I kind of changed my position, and I thought, in the spirit of what the Jolly Elf does for a living, and in keeping with kind of his mission statement, who was I to really kind of stand on the whole idea of a black rifle is not a black rifle if it's not black? So, you know, we suggested white Cerakote and red anodizing, so that, you know, really what Santa Claus is going to be carrying is a very distinctive rifle.
You'll never miss it,
So,
even if it's the last time you see it.
there's some humor to that. So we've put a link in here to white Cerakote. This is, in fact, snow white. I think that's probably a much more appropriate color for Santa than some of the other whites that are available. But
For the majority of the environments that he's going to be operating tactically in.
yeah, well, honestly.
Well, I mean, he's always got that wiggle his nose thing or whatever and turn invisible, so.
What fairy tales do you listen to? Wiggle his nose and turn. I thought it was a finger upside his nose and he goes up the chimney.
Finger upside. Okay, well he can run up the chimney.
That's not Bewitched.
And a nod.
Wiggle her nose and become invisible.
All right. Just crossing the streams. Yeah. Okay.
So, the Cerakote process, I am unfamiliar with it. I have, of course, seen a few YouTube videos, but I think really as far as coatings, JW, you're the guy. Have you Cerakoted anything?
No, spray paint only.
Really? So, do you know anything about the Cerakote process?
Yeah.
Is it close to that?
If you've got an applicator, like an installer, applicator, whatever you want to call the Cerakote professional, that really takes their time and preps the surface and really cleans up the gun, it's great. I mean, it's completely refinishing your gun. It's going to be permanent, and that sucker is going to last. You could use the most expensive, fancy-dancy Cerakote in the world, and if you don't take your time with it and you don't spray it on even and all that, it could still look like not nice.
Right.
So it's really all in the prep and in kind of the care that's taken when it's applied. So there's some amazing things. There's some guys on Instagram that I follow that just do amazing custom paint jobs, and they use Cerakote because it's something that's going to last. It's going to hold up to the wear that you're going to put on the gun, and it's going to maintain the integrity of that metal surface.
So, anodizing is a process we're all familiar with, whether it is directly or indirectly. Most any upper receiver or lower receiver we have is anodized. Most of the aluminum parts that we install on our rifles are anodized. But are you guys familiar with the idea of actually putting a colored anodized process on it? And that can actually be a very kind of shiny, slick surface?
No, we might have discussed that back in episode 67, though. So if anybody's interested in coatings extravaganza, we can go back to that for additional details. But yeah, that's really cool. Slick and shiny.
Well, so here's the thing. You can, in fact, anodize your parts red. So, kind of in general, I was trying to figure out where I would go with this. And I'm not sure, guys, because I don't know if I'd go a white barrel, white magazines, white, stock, and then red anodized my upper receiver, my lower receiver, and my handguard.
Well, if he's in like a colder region somewhere, and he drops it in the snow, the red is going to let him see it.
That's true.
He'll be able to pick it up and find it easily.
It's like those bright orange shotgun furniture pieces that they sell for aquatic adventures.
Right.
Dude, I had an arrow that went into the woods and had a bright fluorescent green on the tip and on the back end of it, and I can't find either one of them. So yeah, the more color they get.
I've seen to see like green things in the wood before.
Okay, there was a bright fluorescent orange.
Try a fluorescent color that's not the same as your background.
Oh, it's winter. It's all brown out there now. Thank you.
You still can't find it?
No.
Look for the green thing.
I suck that bad. It's okay. I'm getting better at everything, little by little.
Yeah, I mean, I'd lean more towards completely whiting out the gun and then just kind of having a few little pieces of hardware flash out in that red, like the trigger, maybe that the anti-roll pins.
Trigger, the bolt, the barrel.
Ooh, the bolt.
Shrouded under
the bolt would be cool.
Like the barrel, red barrel shrouded under a white Cerakoted handguard.
Interesting.
I mean, are you feeling it, or?
I am. I like it. I like the barrel underneath the handguard. That's cool.
So maybe
we could probably overlay like a plaid green over the top of the red.
Oh,
go for like the ugly Christmas sweater style.
I like that a lot.
There is some interesting dynamics there.
You know, if there's anybody out there that's real handy with Photoshop, I would not mind seeing something put together. We've already
that
been
would be
getting
pretty nice.
some activity on the Facebook because we're broadcasting live on YouTube, and so if anybody wants to have a go at photoshopping up some Christmas spectacular, I would love to see that.
I think that would be phenomenal. Well, so guys, is there anything else that you can think of that we're going to give to Santa Claus in this build? And I just want to go on record as saying that, yes, we know that there are gas tubes. There's charging handles. There's buffer tubes and springs and buffers that we didn't talk about. But really, I think Santa Claus, the Jolly Elf had some very strict guidelines in what he needed help with, because I'm guessing he's probably handing out some of these other parts in stockings Christmas morning, and he knows what's going on. So he really wasn't looking for any guidance from us, and we'll leave that to your imagination if you decide that you're going to try to, I don't know, enter the Brotherhood of Santa and build a rifle like he's got. So that being the case, I really think we've covered all the high points on what we told the Jolly Elf that he's probably going to need. And looking back, guys, is there anything that's come up in the last couple months or weeks that you think we should add to the list?
Well, I mean, if you wanted to go completely change it up some, he could get one of those new belt-fed uppers. Would be kind of interesting. I know it's technically, full auto and all that mess, so I guess it's not legal to us, but surely it's legal to Santa, don't you think? He can have full auto.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how his interstate transfer would work going across foreign boundaries as well. I mean, things get really interesting gun control-wise.
Well, they're not going to catch him.
I'm pretty sure that nobody's ever been able to catch him at a border crossing for an inspection.
There's that whole finger upside the nose and...
No, I think that he's just kind of running with an outlaw biker crowd.
Oh.
I mean, the man's got some skills. He sure
he
can
does,
find some porous borders whenever he needs to, can't he?
That would be true. That would be true.
Honestly, if Santa was a rum runner, he'd be able to buy himself an island somewhere by now. All right.
Yep.
Well, guys, I think we've covered all of the things, and I guess this is one of those reasons why I shouldn't enjoy an adult beverage while I'm podcasting, because obviously I've let the cat out of the bag as to who our listener is here. Sorry, Jolly Elf. Forgive me. I hope this doesn't land me on the naughty list, but I was just really thrilled to be able to help the guy out. Always been a personal hero.
I did think it was interesting that you included so many accessories from bad when Santa's really all about those on the good list.
That's right.
Oh, geez. You think that wasn't some kind of a Freudian slip, was there?
It's like that game Bananagram when all your words show up as something. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of putting together builds, we have a build that Reed's got a hold of that needs to find a home.
That's right.
Absolutely. We've emailed our number 2 runner-up. I want the listeners to know that if you just don't want the rifle, answer the email and say, Reed, keep it. I mean, that's okay.
No.
But don't just ignore the email. Take the email and we will ship the rifle to you. So please. Now, like I said, we have 10 of these. And I do want you to know that anecdotally, in Texas, we've been running the Ducks Unlimited 365-day gun giveaway. I haven't won anything, but there were some weeks that the winner didn't respond in the allotted time period, and I'm absolutely certain one of those guys was me.
Uh-oh.
And so we're trying to follow in the footsteps of other large institutional, charities that give away firearms. And we're going to give our winner an opportunity to call in, but we're not going to dwell on the fact that they don't. So, John, you only have these few opportunities to participate, and then we're going to move on to number 3. And I'm hoping that before we get to the end of the list, number 10, that somebody is going to call in or write in and let us know that they are, in fact, very excited to have been a winner. So there you go.
Maybe.
So now that we are well underway in trying to give away our AR-15, unsuccessfully so far, we have had an opportunity come up to benefit the listeners, and that would be a
Gunlog. It's an app.
Well, no.
for
What
iOS.
did Gunlog give us? A code.
Gunlog. That's right. Gunlog gave us
code to redeem on iTunes and download the app for all of you iPad, iPod, iPhone sorts of Apple product enjoyers. So Anthony has compiled a list of the more savvy social media participants and has included a code for you to download that particular app for your very own iPhone. So, Anthony, why don't you tell them what the app is and how to redeem it, and how they're going to see that they have something to redeem.
All right, guys. So the app is absolutely wonderful, Gunlog, and this is the Gunlog, not the Gunlog SPC. This is it's the same app with the lesser version, but I shouldn't say lesser. The one without quite all the features, but it is quite a wonderful version still. It is a wonderful app to do range logs, so you can track everything that you fire. You can track the type of ammo you fire, all the different firing sets, maintenance, and everything else that you do with your rifle. There is a ballistics calculator that is included in one version of that as well. One of the great things about Gunlog is that it is 100% written by one guy, and he did not include any third-party libraries. So because he didn't do that, he knows for sure the app is secure, and he wrote the app so that all the data stays on your device and does not leave your device. He also gives you instructions on how to take that data and back it up onto your PC so that you will not lose anything should your phone get lost. So you can definitely make sure that all of your information stays safe. You can do things like inventory your rifles, inventory all of your ammo, and of course, like I said, range log and all the wonderful bits and pieces that they go along with that. We mentioned before about the bar scanner, and that came back in a piece of feedback a couple weeks ago, I think. The reason he doesn't have the barcode scanner in there is because he wants to make sure that he doesn't use any third-party apps, and he hasn't bothered to learn how to write the barcode scanner yet at this point in time. But I'm sure that maybe one day in the distant future, if you guys beg and plead and enough people ask, he'll be happy to put that in. But currently, he's not going to put anything else in there like that. So with that said, he gave us 20 codes to give away. So we have 10 people. We have Eric L. And Eric L., well, let me start by saying we have sent all of these people on Facebook messages, which is hopefully something you guys will check. You probably are going to need to check your other folder on your Facebook account, so make sure you go into your Messenger and go to your other folder. That is more than likely where the message will show up. So please make sure you do that. But Eric L. was our first winner. Our second winner, as we did our random drawings, just happened to be somebody named Laura R., who, because of, unfortunately, her relationship to the network and other people with the network, we could not award to. But we did change over and give this to John, let's see if I can get this right, Senkink, I believe. Does that sound right, guys?
I thought it was John S.
S. Yeah,
Senkink
sorry,
is
John
fine.
S. Yeah. So John S. was our second winner. And then we have Tiffany V., Justin T., JDS, Etienne A., Doug S., Stephen B., Philip I., and Scott J. So those are our 10 winners this week. Now, this contest is not over. We have 10 more codes that we'll be giving away next week. So please make sure that you go ahead and like the Facebook page for AR15 Podcast before next Monday, the 22nd. This is before Christmas, so this is still would be in time for Christmas. So make sure you like that page, and that's at facebook.com/AR15 Podcast.
Yeah, it looks like JD was actually listening along live on YouTube.
Yep.
He posted a comment here about 20 minutes ago. He said, I always thought Reed would be taller.
Yep, I saw that.
Also, my buddy Sam, I used to work with Sam. Looks like he wishes that he was going to get a black rifle for Christmas. So I'll have to see what shows up in his stocking.
Well, you just tell Sam that if he can hack into John Wynn's Gmail account and reply to me, he might.
With his address, yeah.
Well, guys, I think we have some feedback, so why don't we plow through this and see if we can help some listeners out and find out what the state of our listeners' days are like. We're going to start off with Brian M., who says, you guys make me feel famous when you read my comments on the air. Brian, that's the only reason we're here, man. He says, thanks a lot for the advice on the A2 front sight post. The main reason I'm thinking on a fixed sight would be better is that I plan on using my 5.56 rifle for plinking and then putting a 300 blackout upper on for hunting with a scope. No need for a scope if we can shoot 500 yards without... Well, yeah, of course there's no need for a scope. Anyway, no. He says, does someone make a fixed rear iron sight? Yes. It's called an A2 upper receiver. Sorry, it just had to be that. No. All of the rear sights are typically fixed as far as elevation, but they're adjustable for windage. So I think fixed rear iron sight is not really what you're looking for. Guys, have you seen a rear iron sight that doesn't move at all for windage?
No.
Not that I can think of, no.
Yeah, elevation is a hard
pistol.
one to find.
But what I'm thinking
Gravitated
you might
towards-
mean is just something that's always in the up position, or something that doesn't flip down. So the opposite of a flip down would be a fixed. So
You know what? Lewis Machine and Tool has a fixed rear that is essentially like the removable handguard, or removable handle, but without the handle part. And you
yeah, I know Daniel
basically-
Defense makes some fixed ones that are pretty solid looking too.
So, and LMT, Lewis Machine and Tool, and Daniel Defense, both high-quality companies as far as the products they put out, so I don't think you can go wrong either way. Stay away from anything that is shipped from anywhere in China and comes in at just under $30. That's probably not a good buy. So let's see. He says, I'd like to keep it simple and cheap as possible, so I think that you're going to be painting yourself into a corner if you want it simple and cheap. Let's see.
I would urge him though to go with the folding iron sights, don't you think?
You know, I don't know. Really, if you're not ever going to put any kind of scope, red dot, holographic on your upper, and you've got a fixed front, why do you need to worry about a folding rear?
Ever's a long time.
Well,
I mean, what do we do with our rifles? We're changing them
it's
constantly.
just what Brian says. This is what he says. He says he doesn't need it because he's going to be putting on a different upper. In any case, there you go. He's also got a shout out to Anthony, who he says has been a real inspiration as well. I started listening right when he started on the podcast. I feel like I am keeping pace as far as acquisition of knowledge goes. Well, I think that's probably only, Brian, because you probably shoot in a smaller than minute of barn level of accuracy.
Hey,
But I hear, Anthony, that you're getting much, much better.
yeah. I'm even hitting the occasional skeet now. So
There you go. Good stuff. Who wants to take Rob S?
Sure. So Rob says, Love the show and look forward to it every week. I'm new to the wonderful world of stamp collecting. Before I got involved in this great hobby, I did a lot of research, and now that I am involved, I take every opportunity to share the benefit with others. Last week I had a discussion with a potential enthusiast. The conversation was good until it got towards the end. He expressed a concern that once you start the process, you get your name on a list and become subject to surprise inspections of your collection at any time. I stated that I had never heard of this happening and wasn't concerned. Have you ever heard of this happening? Thanks for all your hard work. No.
Well, I've actually looked into this.
For private stamp collectors.
The law basically says that all you must do is provide proof of registration. So if they ask for your paperwork, you have to give them the paperwork. They don't have the authority to come into your home, to search your safe, to ask you to produce the item. Just that you produce the paperwork.
And it's really only ATF agents, right, that can ask you for the paperwork. Now, it might kind of smooth things over if it was a local law enforcement officer, they wanted to see your paper, rather than saying, no, I'm not going to show you the paperwork for my oil filter threaded adapter. I don't know. I guess you could try that, but
yeah. Well, and you know what? I've heard that whole list concern, and you know, here's my thought. Anybody remember that guy in Russia that the government's probably going to quietly do away with someday? Our government has ways of figuring out what we're up to, and if you're up to no good, you're already on a list. If you're not, you know, keep calm and keep moving on. They don't really care. We're all on a list. I mean, heck, you know, Time Life keeps wanting to send me things in the mail. There's a video company that wants me to buy their DVDs. I'm on somebody's list that I get communicated with almost every day. It's just the way it works. Buying a Title II firearm is not going to make you any more or any less visible than you were the day before.
Depending on the state that you live in and how much the local officials encourage the reporting of gun enthusiasts and whatnot, but we don't need to get into that.
You see, you're making our brethren of the tinfoil hat variety very uncomfortable right now, JW. We're trying
vote early, vote often.
Well, that being the case, I mean, really when it comes down to it, I don't think that there's any concern about a surprise inspection, and you're already on a list, so don't worry about it. Rob, thanks for writing in. We do enjoy it when you do, and I hope that answers your questions. JW, you want to take the next one? Or no,
Mark.
Anthony.
Go for it.
You want to.
Okay.
Someone?
Mark L writes in, hey Reed, I live in Las Vegas and I'm planning to go to SHOT Show if I can figure out a way to finagle a pass, and we'd definitely be interested in a meet and greet. Just wanted to pass that along. Also, if you happen to know anyone with an extra pass, I wouldn't mind taking it off your hands for you. So Mark, I think there's a media requirement. Is that right, Reed?
We get in with media passes, and what we basically have to do is prove our credentials to the NSSF. I believe many of our staff have NSSF press memberships. In addition to that, we essentially provide our bona fides for that press credential. Now, JW, you went through the process already, didn't you?
I did.
And I would say you're probably among the network on the list of the newer hosts and staff members.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a pretty difficult process at this point for you? Or did you think it was pretty
easy? It was
easy?
just getting the assistance of Jake to vouch for me and forward along the necessary paperwork to say that, yep, I was going to be there to report for the network and not just to ogle over guns and send dimensions back to my airsoft manufacturing facility in China.
Not just for that.
So, Mark,
But yeah, I don't know how the passes work for the dealers. I know it's a show for dealers to go and make deals, and the press is just there to kind of share some of the new things with people. But I'm not really sure how the dealer process works.
I don't know either, but I think it's $70 for a dealer pass. I remember, I think, seeing an email about that.
Yeah, so making friends with somebody with an FFL probably wouldn't hurt, and they could probably steer you in the right path.
Or if you want to get onto Jake's good side, I know he likes most anything in 9mm, 223, and I think does he have any revolvers? Is there a 38? I think he might have a 38. So big enough quantities to make it worth his while. I mean, a box of 50 is probably not going to do it, Mark. Anyways, just write him. I'm sure he'll give you his email address, and you guys can work it out. So our next feedback is from Josh, who says, "Hello, guys. I'm a long-time listener and a first-time emailer." Well, hello, Josh. He says, "I listen on Zune and occasionally watch the podcast. I have attempted finding the time to leave feedback multiple times, but working 2 full jobs and recently buying a business has kept my free time to a bare minimum.
Wow,
I
imagine so.
I have listened to most all of the episodes either while driving or riding my motorcycle. I try to scribble down questions while listening, but tend to lose them between working and life in general.
And shifting on the motorcycle. Like, careful with that.
He says, I have finally had some free time to write this during a flight while on vacation. So here go my questions. Reed, do you write up trust for stamp collecting, or could you give me your personal opinion on the trust from silencershop.com? Well, here's the thing. I do write up trusts. I am admitted to practice before the State Bar of Texas, and I am admitted to practice before several federal bars. The federal bars that I'm admitted before relate to my tax work, and the state bar I'm admitted before allows me to practice in this state as an attorney. I don't know about Silencer Shop's trust because I haven't seen it. I don't want to opine about it. It may have been drafted by a very fine attorney. Here is my opinion when it comes to getting a trust put together for your stamp collecting. Number one, your trust is a state law animal. Your stamp collecting is a federal beast. So the two don't ever mix well. And there are some very fundamental ways that they do mix that are part of a much larger body of law. So my suggestion is always find a professional, a licensed attorney in the state you live in to guide you through the process of reconciling those two major bodies of law which don't mix.
Yeah, and it's not that difficult to do. I started doing some research on this just a couple of weeks ago, and like Reed was talking about after he and I had the discussion, I was reading on the forums trying to see if I could find somebody that recommended a law firm here in the state of Alabama, and I was seeing the same exact thing from everybody, and what everybody said was, do you really want to trust your freedom to someone who's not a lawyer? And I thought, well, to save $500, maybe. But when I started looking at the actual prices from law firms, even here in Alabama, there was a law firm that did it for $125. I mean, that's not enough money for me to worry about going to jail over.
Right. Well, and I'm going to tell you, this is my opinion, and I don't know if it's going to be well received or not, but a $125 trust drafted by an attorney who's going to give you a $125 trust is not a trust that they have put any effort into.
That's true too.
Very well drafted one, but they did not give you a full measure of their professional time to walk you through the process. I've seen attorneys who will load a room with 200 new trust trustees, trust buyers, and have them fill out all the blank spaces with their keen direction, only to sit and notarize at the end and collect fees. And I'd like you to tell me exactly how much legal guidance did you get in that 15 minutes.
That's true. Very true.
You know, honestly, attorneys don't charge you because they want to get in your pocket. Attorneys don't charge you because they think they're special. They charge you because they're going to give you advice about how to walk down a narrow path, because if you fall off, the first guy you're going to knock on a door of is that attorney. And part of what he's charging you for is that risk that he's undertaking to give you counsel that you may or may not follow directly or well, but he's going to give it to you. The other side is that he's going to take it upon himself to know a thing well enough to tell you about it. So my opinion is that you owe it to yourself to find someone who's going to sit you down long enough to explain it to you so you understand it. Now, there's a whole lot of information nowadays that you can find yourself. You may not need that guy. But, you know, really, it took me 3 years to figure out how to draft a trust will. I don't think that you're going to find that just by searching the internet. But that's a personal opinion. Anthony, I'm going to let you, no, JW, I'm going to let you tackle these next couple of issues while I take just a minute to settle something.
Alrighty. Josh asks, is there a difference in sound suppression between muzzle brakes or flash hiders in the can? So this is after you've fixed a suppressor over the top of one of these QD sorts of muzzle devices. Doesn't make any difference. Now, what I've always heard is that muzzle brakes are going to act as a sacrificial blast baffle, and the initial blast, the strongest blast that comes out the end of your rifle, is going to get knocked down by that first chamber or two in the muzzle brake before it hits the rest of the can. So it's actually going to prolong the life of the can by protecting those first few baffles in the stack of the actual suppressor. Whereas the flash hider, the suppressor is already hiding the flash, so it's not really going to do you any good inside the can. When I was out filming this weekend, I actually looked through the footage. I was using a suppressor, and on a couple of the frames when I was firing, I could actually see the flash inside the can. So it actually does knock down the flash a whole bunch, but there's still a little bit there that you could see. But that flash hider, I don't know. There's so much flash that is covered up by the can. I wouldn't say that it's really going to be getting you much to go with some fancy schmancy flash hider. I would lean more towards a muzzle brake or like a half and half sort of a device, just to give you that extra level of protection. Because replacing the baffles in a can are really not something that you want to be playing around with. Most of the manufacturers will do it if it's some sort of just kind of normal wear sort of a situation. They're really good about servicing their cans. But choosing a muzzle brake to protect that suppressor, that's what I decided to do with mine.
You think it'll protect the suppressor, but would it make any difference in how loud it is at all? I mean, we know muzzle brakes typically make things louder, but then you've got the suppressor on there, so nothing's going to come out the back of the suppressor back towards you. So.
Yeah, I don't think going either way would really affect the sound.
I would concur.
Josh goes on to say, he says, I'll try to find my other scribbled notes, but that's all I have for now. Keep up the good work. I look forward to hearing what you have to say in the future. If you're ever driving through Kansas and would like to stop and shoot at my private range, you are more than welcome to give me a shout. Well, we will do that, Josh.
Oh, yeah.
Happy holidays to you, too.
Okay. So our final piece of feedback for the night is from Gene C. He says, "Hi guys, I am pleased to report that I have purchased my first AR-15, a Rock River Arms LAR-15 Operator 2 series rifle. I want to learn as much about the platform as I can, so I am reading everything I can find and re-listening to all of your podcasts. do you have any books, preferably ebooks, that you can recommend to a total newbie like me? Also, what kind of training classes do you recommend? I think that between Anthony and Appleseed, JW, you must have the closest, finger on the pulse of training of anybody here on the show. So I'll let Anthony talk about Appleseed in a second. But JW, where would you go with that question about training?
I think it really depends on what's available to you geographically. There's really solid trainers all over the country that are local, that don't get a whole bunch of all the Facebook press. I mean, they aren't the big names with the operational background that some of these guys that become a part of some of these training collectives. They really get hyped up, and it's a whole celebrity experience. There's just some really high quality guys, whether they're local street cops or whether they're guys that have gotten out of the military and have some things to share with how to live a more aware lifestyle here stateside. There's just some really high quality guys locally that you could seek out. And I mean, really look at what you're training. Make sure it's not anything too Kung Fu, Black Ops Ninja, but there's really some great opportunities to get on a range with some other shooters, even if it's not some SEAL Team 6 sort of a thing. It's an opportunity to learn a few extra ways to handle your gun, whether it's a rifle or a pistol, and also just an extra opportunity to get to know other shooters in your community, whether it's members at that local range or whether it's just other people that came out for that class. So I definitely wouldn't overlook some of the local options, but there are some really cool experiences being put on kind of on a higher level for those that are willing to either travel or put up a little extra money to spend some time with these bigger name instructors. I just want to make sure that people aren't overlooking some of the local assets that are available there in their communities.
Hey, JW, when you've seen some of these classes, would you say that you have seen any number of, so you just bought your AR kind of class, weapons
Definitely.
familiarization classes, some very rudimentary 101 ABC step classes?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's either in the format of like a Carbine 1 sort of a thing that guys like to put on, or even private lessons. Guys will post at local clubs and say, hey, I'm NRA certified, I do this or that, I have a badge and carry a gun for a living, come on out and I'll give you some private lessons. And that's a great way to do it too, because you get that private attention and people are working at your level, and it's just really a great opportunity to start from whatever level you're at.
Yeah, and if her name is Janet and she's an all-American girl, there's nothing wrong with that either. Anthony, why don't you kind of give us a thumbnail sketch of where Appleseed is in that whole, I guess, spectrum of training classes?
Yeah, I mean, Appleseed really has nothing to do with being an operator by any stretch of the imagination. They're not going to teach you, how to shoot on the move or anything like that. What Appleseed is going to do, if you go to an Appleseed event, you're going to really learn the basics of riflemanship, the core of what makes you a good marksman. You're going to be able to walk away and hit targets while in a situation in which you are sitting still and your targets are still. You're going to be able to learn those basics. And really, if you don't learn those, I think you're going to have a lot more difficult time learning when both are moving at the same time, or you are moving, or the target's moving, either one. So if you go to an Appleseed event, there are several different kinds. There's the standard I'll talk about two just really, really briefly. There's the standard Appleseed event, and they start off with some little brief history lessons throughout the day, and they'll have you sit down and go through some basic scoring drills when you first get there to find out what kind of capability you have, and then they'll walk you through some basic instruction in which they break everything down for you with full examples, and you get to go through your firing drills at a very slow pace. If it's like a 2-day event, the first day is kind of a slower pace thing, and about the last half of the day or so you spend shooting actual qualifying targets. So you're not actually shooting the 4 scores most of the time on the first day, because a lot of people won't necessarily be ready to score. It depends on the class, I think. And as far as a range of the type of people that are there, when I went to my Appleseed event, they had people like me that had some experience. They had some people that had never touched a rifle before in their entire life that showed up. And then they had guys that were coming in there to, get their score when they got a maximum of 250. They wanted to get their score up above 240 because they were already shooting 235, 236. I mean, they were shooting little teeny tiny groups. And one of the great things is, we had 5 instructors, 17 people, but the guy sitting next to me was shooting these little bitty groups, and we'd have, a minute, 35 seconds to shoot the 10 rounds or whatever it was we had. He would be done in 30 seconds, then look over at me and go, okay, hang on, move your elbow a little bit more. Okay, now do this. And so he was helping me just as much as the instructors were. So it was a really great event. The second day was a lot more fast-paced. If you've never touched a rifle, you may want to look at the Appleseed Boot Camps, which is a longer event and designed for the brand new shooter, because they will help you out if you go to a regular event, but the boot camp is really designed for a new shooter, and the curriculum is designed around that. So it's a great way to learn the basics of riflemanship and to really very quickly improve your skill level, or to come back in and hone some of those skills, especially around sling and still shooting and longer range type marksmanship.
And I just want to say the show is not responsible for the new words that Anthony invents as he speaks.
Did I make up some new words in there?
Just a few. That's all right. It's good work.
I'm not surprised.
On the topic of books, I really don't have much. I know it was tough for me to try and read things online and get up to speed without actually getting my hands on things.
Yeah, I agree.
So really the hands-on range work was where it was at. There's so many good resources on YouTube now too, as far as whether it's gear reviews or kind of samples of classes that guys put up. It's really cool. YouTube's turned into a great resource.
And
I will say that as far as books go, and this is just an anecdotal experience, I got the Garand, the M1 Garand from the CMP, and the sights on a Garand are, of course, a design, from 1939 was when it was put into service, or 1941 or 2 is when the Marines got it, or something in that range. I'm not all that up on my facts tonight on that issue, but I found a manual, one of the field manuals from the U.S. Army or the Marine Corps back in 1948 that walked me through the process of zeroing my sights, setting them to the appropriate zero. And I tell you what, if you want a resource to read that's going to give you some really good tips written to the level of the average grunt, which is basically spoon feeding every single concept to you, that is the way to go. The military field manuals really do give up a lot of information in a good format for you to absorb. And I'm like JW. I've got to touch it, and I've got to take it to the range and put it through its paces and do it a couple times, and then it's locked in. But it is a good resource in a written form, and I think that the reason it's so good is because it's written for basically any grunt to come in and go through boot camp and read it and understand it and apply it. So that's always a good place. And you know what? I think that you can probably find those field manuals all over the internet for virtually nothing.
Yeah, we paid for them, right? It should be open source.
Yeah, I think they're open source. So, Gene, I hope that gives you a really kind of good fundamental perspective on a wide array of things that are out there. But thanks for writing in, and we hope that sets you up. And if you come up with any more specific questions, you let us know. I think we've got a guy or two here that's shot an AR-15, and we'd be happy to help you out. Before we kind of close the show, I want to let you all know, every one of you, that we still strive to bring you a better product. We strive to bring you a better show. We've been investing in our technology, trying to get a better sound. We hope that that's coming to pass. We still have human beings. This last episode, like we apologize for, we had some staff members that are facing some difficult times, and certainly we want to send our condolences out to one of them as they're dealing with a death in the family, and we're so sorry to hear about that. We want you listeners to understand that we do our best. Obviously, it's a little hard when life steps in and lets us know it's still there. But on the flip side of that, we've got new and exciting things that are coming up. We want to share those with you. And chief architect of all of this is Anthony, so I'm going to let him have all the praise. But we have an AR-15 podcast Facebook page. We have an AR-15 podcast YouTube page. We have an AR-15 podcast Instagram page. And Anthony, I think I'm running out of names for the next page, but is it not Instagram, Twitter? Do we have a Twitter feed?
Don't have a Twitter yet, but we've got YouTube and Google.
Google. We have a Google Plus.
Yes.
So
even better than Google. It's
there you
Google
go.
Plus.
If you can find them, please go and like us or link us or love us or I don't know, whatever it is that they ask you to do to us, go ahead and do it, because that's why we put ourselves there. As we convert into really establishing a foothold on these things, we'd love for you to communicate to us through them, share your pictures with us. We're going to begin sharing things with you on a regular basis. None of Anthony's ideas, because they were really a little obscene, but just normal, kind of good, wholehearted AR-15 stuff. And with that, we'll go ahead and end the show tonight by letting you know that you can send us any questions or comments to feedback@ar15podcast.com. You can also send us a recorded voicemail by using the Speak Pipe plugin.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that has problems with that.
Yeah, it's a tongue twister, that's for sure. On the right side of the AR-15 podcast website, and since I've got my new setup, I can now, in fact, actually play the audio on the show in our live recorded format so that you can hear it from the horse's mouth. Also, we would ask that you subscribe and listen to the AR-15 podcast for free at iTunes. No, at firearmsradio.tv/iTunes. And be sure to leave an iTunes or Stitcher review so our show can be placed higher in the searches of potential listeners and let us bring you better content. And I don't think there's anything wrong with you telling your friends or your family or even the guy in the cubicle across the way, come and listen to the podcast. It's good stuff, and really, Reed's funny to look at, and Anthony's funny to listen to. Anthony, why don't you kind of take us out now?
Sure. So follow us on Google Plus, or watch us live at firearmsradio.tv/plus, or you can search for AR-15 podcast on Google Plus. You can check out the Firearms Radio Network YouTube page at youtube.com/firearmsradio, or search for AR-15 podcast, and you'll find us over on YouTube. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/AR-15 podcast, and you can follow us on Instagram at AR-15 podcast. You can also find a whole bunch of other podcasts on the Firearms Radio Network, and you can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/firearmsradio. As always, don't forget to use our Brownells affiliate link for all of your AR-15 parts. That's ar15podcast.com/parts. And if you're going to go to Amazon and buy some Christmas presents, we all know we will be, make sure that you use our Amazon affiliate link, please, at the firearmsradio.tv website. Or you can go to firearmsradio.tv/Amazon, and you'll get redirected straight over to Amazon, and we'll get a very small portion of whatever you purchase without you having to change your purchase price one little bit.
Well, everybody, we want you to know that this may be the last time you hear our voices before Christmas. So, in the spirit of this season that is coming, we would like to wish you a Merry Christmas. And
Christmas, guys.
we will talk to you after that, before the new year, so we can give you a couple of pointers on how not to get arrested like a Marine by Shore Patrol. In any case, Merry Christmas. Guys, you guys had a Merry Christmas too.
You too, Reed. Merry Christmas.
Have a good one, guys.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.